This week's episode is all about preserving. We've got a few things that we brought along with us today and we'll be tasting those.
That's a loud crunch. What is it? Kombucha's a big one.
Do you like it?
I wouldn't say I love it.
I love it. Have you ever heard of bog butter?
It sounds horrible.
As someone who's plant-based, you'll think it's particularly rank.
Bog butter.
I thought this week I would talk about some of the oldest foods that have ever been discovered that were still edible.
That doesn't sound very tasty, I'll be honest. Hello, I'm Jamie Walton, otherwise known as Nettles and Petals, and I'm an ecological gardener from North Yorkshire.
And I'm Martha Swales of Marth's Kitchen Garden, and I'm all about packing as much edible stuff as possible into my little London garden.
This pod is for anyone that might be interested in growing your own.
And all of the many exciting things that come along with it.
Welcome to Homegrown.
Jamie, I've bought one of my travel mugs in today.
For the first time?
Yeah. This is a mug
to for a while.
that I got in the Botanic Gardens in Singapore.
Wow.
It's quite cool, isn't it?
Travelled a distance, yeah.
I know. I was there on a job and we had one day off, and I think lots of other people went out to hang out and like do tourist stuff, and I just went on my own to the Botanic Gardens. Saw some cool lizards and amazing orchids and a blue bee.
Wow.
And lots of terrapins and amazing bamboo. It was really cool. And then the heavens opened and it torrential rain like you've never seen.
Yeah. Like monsoon rains.
Yeah. And I had to get back to the hotel to grab my stuff and go to the airport. But I got this lovely mug in the gift shop. I've put it through the dishwasher. It actually did used to have like a nice symbol on the front, but the patterns hung in there.
Still remain.
So that's I've been upping my mug game, as you can see.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Good. And we've got lots of things to discuss, haven't we? Lots of preserves and interesting things to make you feel a little bit better.
Yes, exactly.
At this time of the year.
So this week's episode is all about preserving.
Mm-hmm.
And that is literally anything from drying, fermenting, pickling, canning.
Yeah.
And I think when I first got into growing, I wasn't that interested in it at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I was just trying to work out how to grow stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'd end up with loads of stuff and I wouldn't know what to do with it. And like, it's one of those things I think you kind of get into more and more over time, and they do all kind of tie in together.
Yeah.
A bit like it's easy to get into sort of, sourdough bread making and fermenting things. And it is kind of a bit like the delayed gratification that's similar with gardening and growing and waiting for things to be ready.
Yeah. Then you can preserve the flavours for longer and enhance in some ways.
And I think it's particularly relevant because in the winter is when I want to be able to have a lot of the things that I've grown throughout the year.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things are things I would be doing in November anyway, because I find lots of the stuff that I'm picking at this time of the year, cabbages and little root vegetables and things like that, do really well. Kohlrabi work really well for preserving and pickling.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested in how I eat all year round, whether that's beans or having garlic cloves or having pickles. I just want to spread it out because it's so easy to just have this huge glut in the summer, more than you can possibly eat, don't know what to do with it, and then the rest of the year you've got nothing. And I've only got a small garden, but I want to be able to eat from my garden all year round.
Yeah. I think you start off gardening trying to grow your own food, and then you get more into the circularity of it, starting to save your own seeds, starting to preserve the flavours for longer. And it's been a fun journey. I mean, it's something that I've only kind of fairly recently, over the last couple of years, started to explore and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I'm not coming into this saying I am an absolute preserving expert, but I think it's something that I'm definitely interested in, have had a go at a few times, understand the basics of.
Yeah.
And I've made some great pals who've been very helpful in advising me. Kenji, you know who you are, and I'm sorry about all those incessant voice notes and messages and photos of all of my pickles, but I will mention Kenji in a little bit because he is a fantastic fermenting.
Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff.
Yeah. You can obviously watch on the YouTube And in which
Yeah.
case you'll be able to see that we've got a few things that we brought along with us today, and we'll be tasting those. For those of you that are listening, we'll describe it. But, it is pretty fabulous in full Technicolor on the... and, these days you can put the YouTube on the telly.
You
and
can.
you can watch it on the big screen.
Yeah, that's where I watch mine, to be honest.
Yeah, well, we've got these nice cameras. It's, shame to waste it on the little phone screen. I sound ancient.
A little bit.
But, that's okay, because this is the vibe. Old school. Really, preserving is kind of food science, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of alchemy involved.
Exactly. And fundamentally, making food last is about reducing the microbial activity. There's lots of ways of doing that, but microbes and microbial activity, bacteria, that's what decays your food. So it's how can you create an environment where they can't decay your food and also that your food remains safe for you to eat.
Yeah. Then you have methods such as drying, which removes water, which is a vital component of life. So once you remove that, nothing grows. I can use acidity to do the same. There's various methods which we shall discuss.
Yes. But if you're completely new to the idea of preserving, of course, before refrigeration for all of human history, the only way that we could make foods last was to salt them, ferment them, dry them, pickle them.
Yeah.
And that's that whole group of different ways in which you make your food hostile for spoiling microbes. Basically, that's the fundamental principle. And within that, then there's lots of different ways that you can do that, and they add different textures and flavours. Some are really good for your gut. Some are just tasty. But yeah.
Some are both.
Some are both, exactly. And a bit like growing food, I think, as you said, it does all connect because they're kind of these skills that have been lost. And I think there's this big revival and wanting to reconnect with being able to do things ourselves and understanding what was once second nature for so long.
Yeah. Traditional skills.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so time for trivia moment of the week.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I thought this week I would talk about some of the oldest foods that have ever been discovered that were still edible.
That doesn't sound very tasty, I'll be honest.
No, but I think it teaches us something quite interesting about what conditions and what sorts of foods can basically last forever.
Yeah. One that immediately springs to mind is honey.
You are so right, Jamie. That is, in fact, the oldest ever discovered edible food.
Doesn't surprise me.
And honey has been discovered in Egyptian tombs. And off record, not officially, supposedly people have tried the honey and said it was just basically like honey, even though it's 3,000 years old. The very oldest ever honey discovered is actually thousands of years older than that and was discovered in Georgia, again in a burial tomb.
Wow.
And supposedly was still recognisable as honey.
Someone tried it. Braver than me.
Yeah, I know, right? Many years ago, I was working on Food Unwrapped and I was researching an item all about preservation. I got to talk to food scientists and stuff. And I remember this guy telling me that honey was one thing that basically lasts forever. And so it stayed with me. But when I was doing a bit of research for today, the reason that honey lasts so long is even though it's often liquid, it's actually got incredibly low available water. So that's one thing that makes it really inhospitable to spoilage bacteria and microbes and things, is because most things, as you say, need water to survive. So it's got really low water availability. It's actually quite acidic. Honey has a pH of under 4, and acidic conditions in general inhibit the growth of bacteria. And on top of that, it has more antimicrobial properties, which is that the bees actually add an enzyme called glucose oxidase to honey, and it breaks down into gluconic acid and, importantly, hydrogen peroxide. So there's a tiny bit of hydrogen peroxide in honey, which also inhibits the growth of spoiling bacteria. So it can literally last basically forever.
Clever bees.
I know, clever bees, right? And also high sugar concentrations also, because you can candy things and that obviously makes things last for a long time, although that has a relationship with the available water. So oldest ever honey discovered in Georgia, 5,500 years old, apparently still pretty all right. Number 2, have you ever heard of bog butter?
I saw this in the notes. I didn't look into it because I thought I'd let you tell me, so I have a natural reaction to it. But it sounds horrible.
As someone who's plant-based, you'll think it's particularly rank.
Bog butter.
Any guesses?
There's got to be something to do with dairy, right?
Yep.
In a bog? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean...
Basically, in peat bogs in Scotland and Ireland, they've discovered, like on numerous occasions, wrapped up lumps of what's basically bog butter. So in some cases it's like animal fats, and in other cases it's like dairy, so butter, and it's like wrapped in fabric or in deerskin and then packed into wooden boxes, and it was buried in the bogs as a form of preservation.
Wow.
What do you think about a bog makes it? Because of course you get bodies preserved in bogs. There's loads of things that are preserved really well in bogs. So based on the rules about preservation, what do you think it is about a bog that makes it stop things from rotting, basically?
Well, it's not dry. There's water involved. I wouldn't say it's particularly acidic, or is it?
Bogs.
Because peat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So low oxygen because you're underwater, high acidity
because of the peat,
and often low temperatures.
So
all of these things come together because bogs are like anaerobic. They don't have like lots of oxygen dissolved in the water. They're like low oxygen environments. So essentially people used to bury the butter in the bog because it was cold, acidic and had low oxygen to stop it from spoiling. But some of this bog butter is like thousands of years old and it comes out like butter, apparently a bit rancid flavoured. But
I can imagine.
Some people have eaten it and said it tastes like just normal butter.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
You're not going to give it a go?
Probably not. No.
break your plant-based diet just
with
to
some
try
bog
a bit
butter. Maybe the honey, but definitely not the bog butter.
So the oldest ever bog butter, they think is 5,000 years old. Wow. 45 kilo crate of it discovered in Ireland. I don't know where it is now. What do you think you do? Keep it in the fridge? What do you do with the
I don't know. It'll be in a museum somewhere, surely.
Yeah, in a special fridge.
Yeah, I imagine.
Cabinet. And the final one is from a boat called the Steamboat Arabia. Sank in the Missouri River in 1856. Down to the bottom, lots of mud. Everything on the boat just got kind of like covered in mud. It's underwater. And like 150 years later, they basically went down there and found bottles and bottles of perfectly preserved pickles, and everything under there was still intact. And there were many bottles of pickled cucumbers, and apparently one of the kind of like archaeologists or people uncovering it did eat them and said they were like a little bit kind of, I guess, dusty, a bit like
Foisty.
lost some of their flavour, but were otherwise fine.
Wow. Some brave people discovering these things and then putting them in the mouth.
I know.
I mean, I wouldn't be doing that, but fair play.
I mean, this brings me to a point, like one of the things that people get scared about with preserving is like not poisoning yourself, and like I am super paranoid about that kind of thing. So
botulism
the last thing
is the main one, isn't it? So we'll discuss that later. But
I mean, if I wasn't sure if it was going to be safe, I would not.
I'm assuming they maybe tested its pH, which we'll get into.
But you know, some people are just more risky, aren't they? Some people just go, yeah, we'll give that a go. Whereas I'm like, I'm scared of everything. I think pickles and ferments are becoming increasingly popular. And one thing that people get confused about is what is the difference between something that's pickled and something that's fermented. So something pickled might be like pickled radishes or pickled cucumbers.
Pickled brambles.
Or pickled blackberries.
Yeah, which all I did really was pop some brambles or blackberries into a jar, heat up some vinegar with some pickling spices, and then just put it into the jar. And then the heat from that sealed it, and that was that.
There you go.
It's a really simple process, but this is a new one. I'd not tried pickling brambles before, but it's nice because it has that kind of bittersweet. So
lovely.
Enjoyed those.
Well, I did a similar thing with these little achocha here, which wouldn't be my normal thing to pickle, but I had a load. We tried them on podcast before, and yeah, as you say, I made like a salty vinegar solution with spices and just poured them over, and that's just a fridge pickle. So I just leave that in the fridge.
Yeah.
So those
they won't last as long.
No,
They won't. I mean, you want to keep them in the fridge, and I'd maybe with these keep them for weeks,
Yeah.
a few weeks rather than months.
Yeah, definitely. And I do fridge pickles all the time. They're probably my go-to pickle. I haven't really done any like shelf-stable pickling. You have to kind of like do a bit more of the sanitizing and sealing and make sure you've got it at the right level of acidity and everything. But for fridge pickles, you just whack your vinegar, sugar, salt on top, and you can keep them for a few weeks, by which point I've munched them all up. But that is a pickle, and it's acidic because you use vinegar.
Yeah.
So they're ready pretty much straight away, and the high acidity is what stops bad bacteria growing.
Yeah, and then you've got lacto fermentation, which can be confusing because you could think that it's got something to do with milk.
Yes, the lacto bit is confusing, actually. And also, sometimes things that are lacto fermented are also called pickles. So dill cucumbers, for example, they can be made with vinegar, or they can be made through lacto fermentation, and they're quite different processes. Essentially, when you lacto ferment something, so we're talking kimchi, we're talking traditional dill pickles, we're talking sauerkraut, you use salt, and you use it at a ratio of like 3% salt, and then you leave it to ferment. And in the process of fermenting, it becomes acidic.
Yeah. So just to clarify for those who don't know, if say you've just gone and you've got a cabbage from the garden, harvested it, brought it into the kitchen, what's the process? So you chop that up.
Yep.
And then when we said 3% salt, what's that in relation to?
Okay, so say your cabbage weighs 1 kilo. So you work out what 3% of that weight is. So in this instance, that would be 30 grams of salt, or you can times it by 0.03.
I think so.
Yeah. But basically, you want to have the salt be the equivalent of 3% of the weight of the cabbage. So with sauerkraut, you shred up your cabbage, you weigh it, you then put 3% salt in, and then with sauerkraut, you're not adding any additional brine or anything. You're using the moisture from the cabbage. So you basically have to pummel it with like a rolling pin until it gets quite wet.
So this is before you put it into the jar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't just chuck your salt on and put it in a jar. You want to like make it, like pound it until quite a lot of the moisture's coming out. Then you can add flavourings. I like to do a red cabbage sauerkraut, and I add coriander seeds and fennel seeds to it. And
nice.
Yeah, it's really good. And then you pack it into the jar, and the important thing is you have to push it down so that the liquid that you've kind of pummeled out of the cabbage sits above the top of the cabbage, because what you don't want is bits of your cabbage sticking out into the air. And you can use little weights to push that down into it, and then you just basically bung it in a cupboard and leave it. You can leave it for weeks actually, but after about a week or two it will start to bubble, and that's because it's fermenting, and it's the salt that's inhibiting the growth of bad bacteria, and then the good bacteria, all those probiotics, are bubbling away, and they then make it acidic as they start to produce lactic acid. So I guess that's where the lacto fermentation comes from, because it's lactic acid that's produced by the probiotics that do the fermentation. Kimchi's similar sort of process. And then you can also lacto ferment things in a brine. So you can make a solution of salt water and put vegetables into it. In which case the 3% has to be equivalent to the total weight of the water and the vegetables. Because the important thing to make it safe is to have enough salt to stop bad bacteria from growing.
But you can essentially chop up your cabbage in that scenario, or whatever it is, put it into the jar, pour in some filtered water, then weigh it. Then you can pour out your water if you wanted to, and add your salt, or you can add your salt straight to the jar.
So you'd either you could pour the water into a bowl, mix it with salt, and pour it back in. But the idea is that you have salt equivalent to the total weight of the contents of the jar. So just as a recap, you use vinegar pickles made with vinegar. You can make them overnight. They are quicker, but they don't have that probiotic living fermentedness about them. And with both of them, fridge pickles, you'd make them and put them in the fridge. With a lacto ferment, you'd make it, and then when it's ready, a week or two, you pop that in the fridge as well, just to stop it from kind of like keeping going, and it'll last for ages. And then the lacto fermentation is salt, and your vegetable and thyme and probiotics producing the acidic flavour, and that has got lots of lovely probiotics which have got lots of benefits.
Yeah, gut health. And
gut health, exactly. I've got a little thing I want you to try here, Jamie, actually.
Okay.
And for that, I've brought...
Where's your special box?
Do you look at these? Right, for those of you not able to see, I bought this little box of vintage little forks. I put a photo of them on Instagram, and so many people were like, oh, my nan used to have those. They're really cute. And I've bought them just for basically eating pickles, and I bought them in Hastings in a little vintage shop. So here's a little fork, Jamie. Okay.
What are we trying?
Well, I've got a pickle and I've got a ferment. So at the front we've got a chocha, which have been pickled in vinegar, onions, spices. And the red thing, I had a huge beetroot and I didn't know what to do with it. So I chopped it up as though I was making a kraut. And I pounded it all up, and because it was such a big beetroot, lots of liquid came out. So it was able to pack it into a jar with the liquid above it. So that's salted to do a lacto fermentation, and it's got ginger, cumin, coriander and fennel seeds in it.
Nice,
and a little bit of chili.
Yeah.
So should we give it a go?
Yeah.
Okay. So the achocha, I just thought, these are the small ones, so you can eat them whole. I actually put loads of salt, and it's a very strong vinegar flavour. But anyway,
let's give it a go.
It's just the principle, illustrative.
Kind of tastes like gherkins.
Yeah, I mean, I put like about 10 tablespoons of salt in there, so I don't know what I was doing, but I was kind of in a bit of a rush, so they're pretty salty, but lots of sugar as well, which is why they're sweet. And then this is the little beetroot.
Nice too.
I actually think I could have fermented it for longer. I did it for about a week, and then I put it in the fridge, and actually I think I should just it was starting to bubble and do exciting things. The ginger's nice. It could be more sour, but it is starting to get a little bit of sourness. It's hard to taste it after the achocha.
Yeah, after the punch of the achocha.
Exactly. And then the other thing I've got on this plate is that last year I made my favourite pickles I've ever made.
Yeah, the viral pickles.
Yes. So these are a very crunchy little vegetable called a Chinese artichoke, also known as a crone, Japanese artichoke. They're not related to Jerusalem artichokes or globe artichokes. They're actually in the mint family. And I believe in America there's a wild plant that grows everywhere that has similar roots to this called betony.
Okay.
Americans will be familiar with that. Let me know if you're listening and you're in America and you know betony. I think it's betony, and it has these kind of what you can only describe as maggot-like looking roots.
Yeah, they don't look that appealing, do they? But
now these are not pickled, but I only dug them up yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to pickle them yet. And the reason I wanted you to try them is because they made the best pickles I've ever eaten, because they've got a fantastic texture.
Okay. I've never tried them.
Yeah? Go for it.
That's a loud crunch. What is it? What does it taste like? Kind of like horse chestnuts.
It's got the texture, I think, of water chestnuts.
Yeah. Nice.
And so when you pickle them, I pickle them so they're bright pink.
Yeah.
And then the crunchiness is just unreal. They're so good. Out the fridge, cold.
I can imagine those pickled would be really great.
Well, I might even show you, Jamie, So yeah, I think hard vegetables pickle really well. Radishes, beets.
Cucumbers. Like pickling some cucumbers.
Yes. I keep meaning to do more cucumber pickling, and then life gets away with me. But you can ferment cucumbers as well. That's the classic pickle dill cucumber.
Well, it's because cucumbers are quite short-lived, aren't they? So you don't have them for that long. So it's nice to pickle some and preserve those flavours.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I know we're talking about this in November, and there's still plenty of nice things to pickle that you can pull out the ground. But in the height of summer, it's a great way to deal with, as you say, your cucumbers.
Your glut.
I've seen, is it Sam Black who does all the fantastic pickling stuff as well? He is on Instagram, and he is a real pickling, fermenting master. He does a lot of things with like koji, and he makes like different fermented sauces.
Released a book this year, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. My favourite thing I made last year was a fermented chili sauce. So you just chop up chili, garlic, ginger, pack it into a jar with salt, leave it for 2 weeks, blitz it up. It is unreal.
I'll have to give that a go.
Do you do much drying?
Not a lot, actually. I don't have a dryer. I mean, I dry some things, just air dry them. Not with a hairdryer. Air dry.
Air dry them?
Chilies is one of them, but I don't actually have, which you've got there. So have you dried these in a dehydrator?
Nah, I just left them on a table in the garden when it was sunny. But I have got a dehydrator. And on that note, raisins. I made raisins.
Oh, okay.
You can try one.
That's what they are. They don't look raisiny, do they? They're kind of like a bit more like little bits of seaweed.
Well, try one, Jamie.
Okay. I feel like those people who have found the bog butter and are having to
I'll have
give
one
it a
as
go
well.
for the first time. Okay. Oh, so these are green grapes.
Yeah, they're like sultanas, I guess.
Good.
They took quite a long time to make, but I grew grapes this year and it made me realise why people make wine, which is that you get like all the grapes are ready at once and there's no way of keeping them and being useful for anything. So it's wine or raisins. And I
yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Well,
I put them into cookies. You blanch them and then put them in a dehydrator.
Yeah. So if you're just listening to this, they are far greener than the average sultana, aren't they?
Yeah, they haven't got the like golden colour, but they're kind of like sweet and sour.
Really nice. They were done in the dehydrator.
That's right. And I intentionally dehydrated them to quite a dehydrated level because I didn't want there to be any moisture left that might spoil them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't dry them enough, you put them in the jar and they'll go mouldy. Mouldy. I've got them stuck in my teeth. That's fine.
So what dehydrator do you have? Is it kind of...
Oh, it's not a very advanced one. It's a really cheap... I mean, you know, like...
You can get those solar dehydrators, can't you? You need to get one of those. I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this you can kind of use all year round. The other thing I like to dehydrate is... I've got here, these are Korean mint leaves, which I make tea out of. I've even dehydrated some cherry tomatoes. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet, but I cut them in half, put them in the dehydrator.
Nice.
Just quite fun. Once you get started, you can't stop. Do you know what I mean?
Can't stop drying things.
Can't stop drying things. My house, just stuff drying everywhere.
It's quite an easy way to preserve things.
I think it's a great starting thing because as long as you dry it out completely, it's kind of like...
Yeah, good for herbs.
Yeah. Yeah, herbs are a great one because obviously you get loads in the middle of the summer and then you've got nothing. But you can dry, you know, if anything, actually, if you dried parsley and basil and all of that, which I meant to do.
Yeah.
But that would be a great thing to dry and preserve.
Yeah, I don't do enough.
That's what I realise is I don't do enough and I want to have a bit more of a like plan for doing more each year so that I've got more to kind of preserve. So I've got into growing things like drying beans and stuff that I can have in the middle of the winter. So we've talked about vinegar,
lacto fermentation, drying, and I suppose this is a different type of fermentation. So this is one of my home-brewed ginger beers.
Oh, I really want to try this.
So unfortunately, on the way down from North Yorkshire, the lid popped. So when I got out of the bag, the lid was open.
Oh, no.
So we've lost the fizziness, I think.
That was pretty good.
There was a little bit in there, but it would usually be far fizzier than that. So, yeah. It could be left longer. This is maybe 3 days old.
Okay.
So I'd maybe leave it for kind of 5-6 days, usually. But it very much depends on the sugar you use too. This was Demerara, so it's a little bit darker, than the usual ginger ales that I'd make or ginger beers. But it's a fairly simple process, and it all starts with a ginger bug.
Talk me through from the beginning.
A ginger bug is essentially just ginger, water, and sugar. Just those three ingredients. Super simple. So you'd chop up your ginger, and you want organic ginger, and you want to keep the skin on because that's where the wild yeast and bacteria are.
Okay.
So you chop them up, and I'd maybe put like 2 heaped tablespoons into a jar with some filtered water, and it wants to be filtered because if it's got chlorine in it, that can interfere. And then you add a sugar. You can use just kind of standard white sugar. I don't. I try to use a cane sugar, ideally. So I use like Demerara, or you can use organic raw cane sugar, something like that. People often ask if you can use honey. Not necessarily, because it has antimicrobial properties.
Of course.
Coconut sugar, you can, but it usually takes a long time. How long it takes to properly ferment depends on the sugar that you use. So this was Demerara. And then you would add your water, your chopped ginger or your grated ginger, and maybe a heaped tablespoon or two of sugar. It doesn't really matter about you don't have to be exact with the measurements.
Oh, I love that, because
it's pretty simple. So if you could add, say, a cup of water or 2 cups of water, depending on how big your jar is, 1 or 2 tablespoons of ginger and the same of sugar into a jar, and then cover it with something like a muslin or something like that.
So you don't
want
want
a little bit of air in.
Air, okay.
Yeah, you
like
don't want to put the lid on. You want a little bit of air in there. And then every day for maybe 3 to 5 days, you want to feed it. So just add more of the sugar and more of the ginger. So again, 1 or 2 heaped tablespoons.
Do you have to pour anything away, or do you just keep adding
you just
to the
keep
jar
adding.
each day a little bit more?
So you want to start off you don't want to fill the jar. You want to say like quarter fill it with your initial water, ginger and sugar. And then after about 3 days, you'll usually see some bubbling occurring.
Exciting.
So some activity. And that's the wild yeast and bacteria essentially starting to consume the sugar and releasing carbon dioxide, creating the bubbles. And then you would use that to essentially inoculate, I suppose, your ginger ale. So you've got your ginger bug.
Yep.
After about 5 days, it should be really active. At that point, to make your ginger ale or ginger beer, you would just add sugar, water, and your ginger to a pan. Boil that for about 10 minutes or something along those lines. Then you'll let that solution sit on the side and go down to room temperature. Then you would filter it out, so you just pour it through a sieve.
Okay,
so you've only got the liquid. And then to the liquid, you'd add maybe a small cup of your ginger bug.
Which has got all of those kind of yeast
to inoculate it.
Probiotics bubbling away.
And some lemon juice. I had like the juice of 2 lemons. And then I'll bottle that, put it on the shelf, and within about 3 to 6 days, it'll really start to bubble. And you'll see some activity going on. Just keep checking it after that, because the pressure can really build up and you can have some explosive events.
So you need a pressure safe bottle, don't you?
Need
a swing cap lid.
This one isn't a pressure safe bottle because I didn't actually have any. So with this one, I would check it every day, really.
Okay.
And you can just kind of like move the lid slightly and it'll release it. It's called burping. So you can release some of the pressure.
You need to do that with your kraut and everything as well.
Yeah, just because if you leave it, it probably will blow up.
Yeah.
So not ideal. But then, after maybe 6 days, it'll be really, really bubbly. And it'll be a lovely kind of soda that you can use.
Oh, fantastic. Do you know what? I'm definitely going to do that.
And then you can add it, you can pop it in the fridge, which slows it down slightly and means it'll last longer.
And actually, it's a good point you made about the burping, because you do need to do that with like sauerkraut and things as well.
Yeah.
I actually have jars that have a little valve in the top, and you can get fermenting jars that just gradually let the
pressure release.
Yeah. But if you're going to just do it in a jar, you have to take the lid off every day or two, because otherwise it can basically, your jar can explode.
And then also, if you wanted to, you can use your ginger bug for other things. You can use, say, like organic juices. So if you've got juices with a high sugar content, you can just pop those into a jar. Ideally, if they're room temperature, that's better. And then just add some of your ginger bug.
And make like a fizzy,
and you can make
fruity
like a
soda.
Fizzy version of any kind of juice that you would buy. So pineapple or apple juice. Or
I love this.
You can use carrots, or I've done carrots, I've done beetroot and apple, and all sorts of different flavours.
I've got loads of beetroot on the allotment.
All starts with that ginger bug, which is super easy to make. And it's a really nice kind of entry point, I think, for fermentation.
I think so much of it is just not knowing. Like, I kind of in the back of my mind have always wanted to have a go. But now you've explained it to me, like, if I can make sauerkraut or a pickle, then I can, I just need to...
It's probably I think it's the easiest way to make your kind of own fermented sodas.
I think they are generally simpler than people think. They're just a bit like, you get a bit worried and don't quite know where to start. And I think actually on that point, people do often, one of the questions we had in about this, and the thing that scares people and scared me was, Botulism. And I'm just going to mention this. So if you're not familiar with botulism, it's where you get Botox from, guys. So it's a bacteria that produces essentially a poison that can paralyze your body and kill you. It's very bad, like very serious matter. Botulism doesn't thrive in high acid and salty environments. So all of these methods of preserving are about making it inhospitable to, yes, spoilage bacteria, but also dangerous bacteria that might harm you, because you can't taste or see botulism. You occasionally hear about it, for example, when people might make recently I heard about it, somebody had made sold pesto.
Oh, wow. And that had botulism.
Yep, because when you are preserving things that are not acidic, that's when it's dangerous. And if you're not adding acid and salt. So low temperature, high salt, high acid are all good ways to prevent botulism. So like a fridge pickle is very acidic and salty and cold. The dangerous area is when you get into canning. And that is actually not something I've ever done. I know it's very popular. I think it's much more popular in America, and I'm not sure if that's just because there's much more homesteading and there's much more of a tradition of canning. Canning, I don't think, is nearly as big a thing in the UK.
No.
But essentially, canning is where you put foods inside a jar and you seal them and you sterilise them. And I think the safety level is to do with how acidic the foods are. So strawberries, for example, quite acidic, don't need as many stages of sterilisation as a low acid food. So
tomatoes are okay too, generally.
Yeah, so they're quite acidic. Whereas if you're like preserving, I don't know,
cucumbers,
carrots, or like people obviously do meat and fish as well. And that is, I'm not going to give any advice on it, because you have to really make sure everything's sterilised, and then you ideally, I believe, use a specially designed electric canner. If you want to give canning a go, obviously the thing about canning that's amazing is you can store absolutely all kinds of vegetables. You can store them in water as well, so you don't have to flavour them, you don't have to make them acidic or salty or fermented, and you can keep them shelf stable. You know, you can jar. I mean, I watched a fabulous one where a woman had caught a tuna and she jarred it in oil, but you need to,
Doesn't sound that fabulous.
No, it looked quite tasty, but I appreciate not for everyone. But you have to know what you're doing. So that's why I haven't really done any canning.
No, I haven't really either.
I don't produce enough to can, to be honest. I'm not going to make jars and jars of tomato sauce. I might make a jar of fridge pickles and eat them over, make a bit of chili sauce. But I'm not onto large-scale canning just yet.
No.
Just to mention a few other things, obviously, other kinds of preserving, smoking, putting things in alcohol, storing things in oil. Not going to go into them in huge detail, but again, all of them are about either drying, changing the environment for spoilage bacteria, basically. I know I keep going on about this. It doesn't sound very glamorous, does it? Just really reducing that spoilage bacteria. And of course, the other one is to make preserves like chutneys, jams.
Yeah. And we had some questions about
green tomatoes. Yeah, you make a good green tomato chutney.
Yeah, I mentioned it on another podcast, I think, didn't I, a little while ago? But a green tomato chutney is a really nice way to use your green tomatoes. Super simple too. You just would chop up your green tomatoes. I add apple, sultanas, and onions. Pop those into a pan with vinegar and some sugar, and then just heat that. And after about an hour or something on the stove, it'll be a nice kind of chutney consistency. Then I add that to jars, and usually because of the heat of the chutney, it'll seal the jar. Yeah.
And also you put vinegar in there, don't you? So it's, again, acidic, high sugar, you've cooked out low moisture, all of those things.
But it's really nice.
I definitely want to make some. I think I might have a few green tomatoes knocking around. I do just have to mention my friend Kenji Cooks on Instagram, who's got a book out called Ferment, because he is just an incredibly generous and kind person who has put up with my many messages about my kombucha and my kraut, and I'm constantly asking him for advice. And he's done a book all about fermenting, including like making your own miso, and there's loads of really cool stuff in there, because once you get into this world, I think it's pretty endless.
Yeah, and kombucha is a big one. You can kind of over the last few years, most kind of shops sell it now, don't they, in various flavors. And
do you like it?
Kombucha? I mean, I drink it. I wouldn't say I love it.
I love it.
It's got that kind of, it depends as well, because some are far more vinegary than others, I find, but it just depends. But I do drink it.
I'm obsessed with it.
Really?
And yeah, I love like the vinegary flavour of it. So it's fermented tea.
Yeah.
The only thing about kombucha is you have to get hold of what's known as a SCOBY, which is a symbiotic community of bacteria and yeast.
Yeah.
It looks like a lump of jelly.
You can usually get one from a friend.
Yeah, you can get one from a friend.
A fermenting friend.
Exactly, or you can buy one off the internet. And you just make black tea and add sugar, and then you chuck your SCOBY in, and you put it in a jar, again, similar to the ginger bug, with a bit of fabric over the top. And that makes kombucha. And then once you've done the first fermentation, you then ferment it again with any flavouring. So I make one with calamansi, which is a little citrus fruit that grows on a plant I keep in my kitchen, and ginger. But I did have a bit of an incident this summer where I left my kombucha for 6 weeks because I hurt my back, and loads of, I keep going on about my back, but it was quite debilitating, and it produced a very thick SCOBY, and then it kind of ran out of steam. So I've been trying to revive it.
Yeah.
Which so far has not been. I might have to start again from scratch, but at the moment I've got a jar full of all my old SCOBYs, and it is kind of gradually getting a bit more activity.
Yeah.
But I really want to master it because I love kombucha, and when I made it and it worked, it was so delicious. But there's a lot of trial and error. Sometimes it just doesn't do it. Sometimes it doesn't carbonate. Sometimes it doesn't. So, yeah, I just think there's a whole world of things out there.
Yeah. Possibilities are endless.
What would you like to try that you haven't done?
Maybe some canning.
Well, if you've got the community garden, there's so much more.
Yeah, so I'd maybe look at getting a canner.
Yeah, you can get electric canner, you just plug them in, apparently.
Yeah, and away you go.
I'm going to be growing some oyster mushrooms, and I think I might end up with quite a lot at once, so I'm just going to dry them,
yeah.
Have dried mushrooms. So I'm quite looking forward to giving that a go.
I've seen some nice kind of garlic and onion powders.
Yeah, people doing them in the Dehydration, and the bits of your green onion, and then you just blitz them up and you can add them to stuff. People do them with onion skins as well, don't they?
Yeah.
There's a real endless world of possibilities. So we're just going to round off with a few little questions that we've had in.
Yeah.
I've got one here. Is there a way to store potatoes, carrots, parsnips, other root veg without a cold store?
Yeah, I mean, I've not done it, but I've seen others use sand.
Yes.
So you'd have a container with sand in, say, like a shed or a conservatory.
So a cold store.
Conservatory, a shed or like a garage.
Yeah, so a cold store, they're like root cellars, aren't they? Again, I feel like this is not something we really have
in
here.
In Sweden, they have a lot of root cellars.
So it's like an underground, it's like a dugout underground with a door, and it keeps it really cold, and you just put all your veg in there like over winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can...
We don't really have them in the UK.
No. I guess you can leave a lot of veg in the ground.
Yeah, just pull them when you want them. Potatoes as well.
And I think, do they do them in crates where you stack up crates and put sand in and then...
Yeah. Any kind of container really that's big enough. You can put some sand in and you can just push them into the sand, lay them up, and usually be all right.
Well, yeah, and I guess that would last. Carrots would last for months, wouldn't they? So that is a way of keeping things stored. You know, when they make traditional kimchi in Korea, they have earthenware jars that are buried underground. So they're very cold where you store, and they store them in these jars. So it's the cold as well that stops them from like over fermenting.
Yeah.
Can I pickle chili peppers? Yeah.
You've mentioned it, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, well, you can pickle them whole in a vinegar pickle, or you can chop them up and make a fermented chili sauce, which is so good.
I think I'm going to do that this year.
It's so good. That was
left.
The biggest hit. You know, because some of these experiments, I don't think I'm going to be like desperate to make another a chocha pickle.
It's not bad.
It's not bad, but do you know what I mean? I'm not like,
it's kind of sliced and added to something.
Yeah.
I
think the Chinese artichokes I'm desperate to do again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a load more of this fermented beetroot and do it for longer.
Yeah.
But the chili sauce, and even if you like, there's quite a lot of markets near me where they sell bowls and bowls of chilies, and if you're like, you know, you can turn that into a chili sauce that is just so delicious, honestly. Nigella's got a fantastic recipe.
I'll look it up.
She actually gave me a jar of it once. That's also why I love it.
Wow.
What can we preserve? Everything?
Almost.
I reckon, yeah.
From the garden.
Can you name something that you couldn't preserve? Because if it's like a fruit, you could dry it, you could make it into a juice and ferment it. You could, oh, of course, we haven't talked about freezing. You can freeze loads of stuff as well. That's a great way to store things.
Yeah.
I've got lemongrass in my freezer, sliced up lemons in my freezer.
Seeds even.
Seeds, exactly, to make them last longer.
You want to make sure there's no moisture. You want to fully dry them before you freeze them, otherwise the moisture expands.
Oh, interesting. So what sort of seeds do you freeze?
I don't, but I just know that you can.
Vine leaves I freeze.
Yeah.
Because I'm pruning my grapevine, and I put all of the tender little leaves in the freezer. And then if I want to make vine leaves, you can make them. I've got gooseberries in my freezer.
Things like brambles that just last for 2 seconds on the side.
Yeah.
Put those in the freezer.
Yeah, got red currants in the freezer.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that you couldn't really preserve in one way or another.
Yeah, they've got to be. I just don't think, this is like all of history. I mean, tomatoes used to be boiled down into like a tomato paste that was so dried out it was like a stock cube. Yeah, I just think endless possibilities. Actually, Kenji was telling me about how you can also, even with like daikon radish, which is the big white radishes, you can semi-dry them and then you can make a pickle out of them. So they have like this kind of almost chewy texture. And of course,
interesting.
Culinarily, this is the real frontier of like, posh Michelin food now, isn't it? Yeah. It's like all of these kind of flavours and pickles and people making their own. That's really where it's at now, is like, in a way, really, Jamie, we're homegrown, like seasonal produce, and like fermenting and pickling is like the peak of gastronomy at the moment.
It is. Very true.
And we can all do that at home. Like my beetroot, your pickled brambles.
Pickled brambles.
Exactly. Can I freeze or preserve Swiss chard?
Yeah. I mean, I think what I would do is I'd separate the stalk from the leaf, maybe freeze the leaves.
Yeah.
Chop up the stalks and maybe ferment the stalks.
Yeah, someone was talking about, I can't remember if it was pickled or fermented, but the stems almost like stick. You do it like sticks.
Yeah, because
like
it's kind of
crunchy.
like celery.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just nice colours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love chard. But I don't even think you really need to preserve it because it just grows all winter anyway. So.
Yeah, well, it's one of those that I think is undervalued and underappreciated because it's kind of just, it's always in my garden.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. It is the hardest working veg that I grow. I eat it more than anything else, and it lasts all year round. Yeah. And it's good for you.
It's a staple. And it's not one that I am really excited about eating, but it's just it's in everything.
Yeah. Although there are a few, I actually have this pasta that I absolutely love where I get lots of olive oil and I fry like sliced garlic, chili, and a few anchovies in there. And then I chop up and slow cook the stems. Yeah. Blanch the leaves with pasta, mix it all together and put loads of parmesan on top. And let me tell you, it's really good. My girlfriend like absolutely hates seafood, and when she was like, don't put anchovies in it. And I made it and she was like, okay, you're right, this is delicious. Because it just seasons it really.
You can use them to kind of wrap things as well because they're larger leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully that's given you a little bit of inspiration. I mean, there's just endless things. There's even things we didn't get to talk about, syrups and all sorts of things. But yeah, I think it's very growing adjacent and they do just go hand in hand. And the more you go down one route, the more you want to kind of do all of these other bits and pieces as well.
Definitely.
So yeah, my next thing is I'm going to go and make another big jar of my Chinese artichokes, which are my top favourite pickle ever.
Look forward to it. I think that's the preservation episode done and dusted for now. Maybe something we'll revisit because there's so many things we can discuss. Maybe we'll get Kenji on. That'd be nice.
That'd be fab. And also we should revisit it in sort of the middle of the summer when it's absolute glut and we can talk about, because at this time of year it's there's things that can stay in the ground. Yeah. Whereas like there's that time in the middle of the summer when you're just desperately trying to keep up with everything.
So let's get Kenji on next summer then. Exactly. Sounds like a plan.
Perfect.
So if you've enjoyed it, let us know if you've got any kind of ferments or preservation techniques that you love, and any interesting concoctions. Send us pictures. We'd love to see them.
I'd also be particularly interested in anything that's regional to where you live. So is there anything that you may, if you're not in the UK, if you're in other countries, or something that's been passed down through your family, or I just always love hearing about traditions from different places. So let us know what you make with the things that you grow, and we'll...
And where can they send that to?
Oh, well, they can send that to homegrown@joypeddlers.com. Earlier, I accidentally completely renamed the podcast. Couldn't remember what it was called.
Handmade.
Yeah. So homegrown@joypeddlers.com, and we will see you next week. It's December already.
Yeah. Wow. Well, almost Christmas, so we'll have a Christmas special maybe.
Oh, I think December will definitely have a Christmas special.
Yeah. See you next time, and subscribe, like, and do all of those things, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Take care. See you soon.
Bye.